close your eyes, feel the bed, the sheets, the pillow under your head, your own breathing steady and slow. Now the sheets change, they stiffen, they harden. The pillow disappears and your head rests on something solid and warm. Not fabric, stone. The mattress is gone. You are lying on rock, and the rock is warm, and the warmth is coming from below. Your body is wrong. It is too heavy. Your legs are too large, massive, bent, coiled like springs beneath you. Your arms are too small, too short, tucked against your chest with 2 clawed fingers each. Your head is enormous. The jaw alone weighs more than your old body. Your teeth are the size of your old fingers, and there are 60 of them, and each one is serrated like a steak knife. You try to breathe, and your whole ribcage moves. The exhale shakes the ground. Something small skitters away from you in the dark. A lizard, a mammal, something that felt the vibration and chose life over curiosity. Smell arrives. Sulfur. Sharp, chemical, rising from cracks in the rock beneath you. Wet fern, soil, and something animal, something close and musky and warm. Your own scent. You smell like heat and predator. You are. No name, no word for yourself. You are hunger and heat and weight and teeth. You are 40 feet of bone and muscle lying on warm stone in the darkness before dawn. You are 12 years old. You are the largest predator in this world. And you are starving. The sky begins to lighten in the east. A thin amber line, the first crack of the Cretaceous dawn. 67 million years before the first human word. Before the first story. Before the first fire. You open your eyes. The transition from sleep to waking is not gentle. It is a switch. One moment the world is dark and warm and shapeless. The next, it is sharp. There is no grogginess in a predator's waking. No slow climb from dream to consciousness. No blinking adjustment period. Your nervous system runs a status check in the time it takes your pupils to contract, and the report comes back. All systems operational. Vision clear, hearing sharp, scent processing online, hunger critical. The world snaps into focus. Your eyes are built for this. Binocular, forward-facing, sharp enough to track a bird at 300 yards. The pre-dawn light is grey and flat, but the edges are hard. A pterosaur banks across the pale sky, and your eyes follow it without instruction, tracking the motion the way water follows a slope. The stone beneath you is warm. Your body heat soaked into it through the night, and now it radiates back. You are lying in a shallow depression in the volcanic rock, worn smooth over years by the weight of your body in this exact position. This is your nest. This is where you hatched 12 years ago, when you were small enough to hold in 2 human hands. The sulfur smell from the vents is the first smell you ever learned. It means home. The hunger hits before your muscles finish waking. It is not a thought. It is a physical cavity. A hollowness below your ribs that has been growing for 6 days. Your body has been consuming its own reserves. The muscles along your flanks are slightly thinner than they were a week ago. A 9-ton body burns fuel at a rate that does not forgive missed meals. 6 days without a kill is not a preference. It is a crisis. You stand. The mechanics are simple and enormous. Your tail swings left and your right thigh contracts and the ground shakes. Your femur is thicker than a telephone pole. Each leg lifts and plants with the weight of a small car. Pebbles roll off the lip of the nest depression and tumble down the volcanic slope, clicking against the rock. You are vertical. The sky is bigger from up here. The air is different from anything a human will ever breathe. Richer, higher in oxygen, thicker at sea level, carrying heat and moisture from a greenhouse planet that has no ice caps and no winter, as mammals will understand it. The sky is a different shade of blue, deeper, warmer, filtered through an atmosphere that holds more carbon dioxide and more water vapor. You don't notice any of this. This is the only air you've ever breathed, the only sky you've ever seen. It is normal. It is the world. The dawn chorus fills the valley below. Pterosaur calls from the dead trees by the river. High and sharp, territorial, 5 voices claiming 5 branches. Small theropods chatter in the understory beneath the ridge. Feathered things, fast and busy and beneath your attention. A chorus frog calls from the river margin. A rapid clicking that has been the same rapid clicking for 100 million years. Amphibian time running on a different clock than yours. Something splashes in the shallows downstream. A gar, maybe, or a lungfish rolling at the surface. An ancient body in ancient water doing what it has always done. And from the south, carried on warm air that travels further than cold, a deep sound. A hooting call. Hadrosaur, the herd, miles away but present. Your ears register it and file it alongside the hunger. The sound carries a shape, not visual, but spatial. The herd is moving. The calls come from a spread of positions that shifts as you listen. The leading calls pulling south while the trailing calls follow. They're heading for the river. They always head for the river in the morning. The routine is as old as the game trail they walk on, worn into the landscape by 10,000 repetitions of the same decision. Wake, eat, drink, move on. You open your jaws. The full gape, 4 feet from the tip of the lower jaw to the tip of the upper. The mandible drops and the muscles along the back of your skull fire in sequence, and the air pops from the pressure change. 60 teeth check in, all present, all sharp. Behind the front row, replacements grow in a conveyor belt of enamel that has never failed you. Lose a tooth, grow another. The system is older than forests. Your forearms flex. 2 fingers on each hand, tipped with claws that curve inward like meat hooks. They are strong for their size, capable of holding a struggling animal against your chest while your jaws do the work. But short, tucked close to your sternum. They grip, they brace, they anchor. Today, when your jaws are buried in a carcass and the dead weight is sliding sideways, your forearms will press down and hold it, and the leverage will be exactly enough. They have their uses. The scar on your left flank pulls tight in the cool air. 2 feet of raised tissue running from your hip to your lower ribs, 2 seasons old. The rival female, she came from the east, testing the boundary. You remember it the way your body remembers pain, not as a story, but as a series of sensations. The impact of her skull against your side. The teeth finding the gap between your ribs and your hip. The tearing, your own jaw swinging, catching the right side of her face. The crunch of bone giving way under 12,000 pounds of pressure. She made a sound you'd never heard another predator make. She went east. You stayed. The wound took a full season to close, and the scar still tightens when the morning air is cool. From the ridge, your territory unfolds below like a map you've memorized with your feet. The river cuts south through the center, a silver line in the early light, bending east where the bedrock forces it, straightening again past the floodflat where the conifers grow in rows that follow the old water channels. The fern prairie stretches west, chest-high fronds already catching the first amber of sunrise. In the wet season, the prairie floods knee-deep, and the ferns drown and regrow from the rhizomes, and the whole landscape resets itself in a cycle of death and renewal that repeats every year, and has repeated for longer than your species has existed. Now, in the dry season, the ferns are thick and golden, and the ground beneath them is hard-packed clay that holds footprints for weeks. Between ridge and prairie, the cycad forest sits dark and dense, the canopy hiding everything beneath it. The forest runs 2 miles north to south and half a mile east to west, a belt of shade and cover that connects the ridge to the river. It is your highway. Every hunt begins with a walk through those trees. Beyond the river, the floodplain opens where the herds graze. You can see movement there, shapes, distant, too far to identify. But movement means animals, and animals mean food. You lift your head and read the air. Your nostrils, each one the size of a human fist, flare wide. Your olfactory bulbs are enormous, built to decode the chemical world that runs parallel to the visible one. The morning carries water from the river, 2 miles south. Wet vegetation. Pollen from the cycad flowers. Volcanic sulfur, close and sharp. Herbivore dung. Multiple species, multiple directions, the background noise of a landscape full of large animals. And underneath it all, like a thread in a tapestry, something specific. The flat, grassy smell of a large plant eater, Edmontosaurus, and beneath the species scent, a wrong note, sweet and sick, the chemical signature of inflammation, an old injury, poorly healed, weakness, the limper. His scent has passed this way. It is 8 hours old, drifting south toward the river. He moved in the night. The recognition meets the hunger, and the two fuse into something that doesn't have a name. Your gut tightens, your head drops lower. This is not curiosity. This is trajectory. The failed hunt 6 days ago, that failure lives in your muscles as a specific tension, but the limper is moving toward the river, toward the crossing, towards the place where mud slows the weak and the bank hides what waits. You start down the ridge, each step placed with 9-ton precision on the volcanic scree. Your tail sweeps behind you, a 20-foot counterweight keeping your center of mass over your feet. The cycads close around you as you descend, their fronds brushing your flanks. The air changes, cooler, wetter. The canopy seals above you, and the pre-dawn grey dims to green-filtered shade. The game trail appears, a broad path worn through the understory by decades of hadrosaur traffic, wide enough for you, which means wide enough for anything. Branches are broken at your shoulder height, 12 feet up, from your own previous passages through here. The forest remembers your shape. The specific plants of the Cretaceous understory press in on either side. Cycads with their rough bark and palm-like crowns. Tree ferns unfurling new fronds in green spirals. Ginkgos with their fan-shaped leaves that turn gold in the dry season. Here and there, early flowering plants, small, unremarkable, hugging the forest floor. They will inherit the earth in 67 million years. Right now, they're weeds beneath your feet. Your footfalls compress the earth. Mud squelches. Root systems groan beneath the weight. A lizard darts off the trail and vanishes into the ferns. A mammal, the size of a rat, furred, warm-blooded, insignificant, freezes in the shadow of a cycad root. Its tiny heart hammering so fast the individual beats blur together. It watches you with eyes that hold more terror than its body can reasonably contain. Then it bolts, a brown streak, disappearing into the leaf litter. You walk the center of the trail. There is no need to dodge trees. Trees dodge you. Your own footprints from 3 days ago have hardened in the clay. 3-toed, each one large enough to bathe in. You walk in your own tracks because the stride matches and efficiency matters when the fuel gauge reads empty. Beside your prints, hadrosaur tracks, broad and flat. Ceratopsian prints, rounder, deeper. The game trail is a shared road, and every species leaves its signature. A fallen cycad trunk lies across the trail. Your urine mark is on it, 2 days old, fading but present. The chemical message is clear to anything with a nose. Adult female, healthy, territorial, occupied. You stop and refresh the mark, fresh over old. Then you rake your inner toe down the bark, 3 deep gouges. Visual confirmation of the chemical claim. A dromaeosaur, 6 feet of feathered muscle, opportunistic, clever, is crouched 10 yards off the trail. It saw your mark and froze. It will stay frozen until you pass. The predator hierarchy is written in chemistry and enforced by size. Your pace changes, slightly faster, head lower, nostrils working the air with each breath. A small, feathered theropod, troodon-sized, quick as a bird, darts across the trail ahead of you. Large brain for its body. Night hunter. Not competition. Not prey. Not worth the calorie expenditure of acknowledging. You ignore it. It freezes, watches you pass with round, dark eyes, and resumes its own hunt when your footsteps fade. The trail continues south. The scent strengthens. The limper is heading straight for the river, and you know where the crossing is, and you know the geometry of that crossing. The 6-foot bank, the fern cover, the soft clay that slows heavy animals in the shallows. You've killed there before. The plan is not a plan. It is an alignment of hunger and landscape and memory that points in one direction and says, go. The forest opens. The fern prairie spreads before you, chest-high fronds stretching to the tree line a mile distant, golden green in the new sun. The sky is wide and blue, and the warmth hits your skin like a second waking. Your dark, pebbly hide absorbs the heat, and the muscles underneath loosen and warm. You are not cold-blooded. You aren't warm-blooded. You are something between. Massive enough to hold heat through the night, grateful for the sun that brings your muscles to peak contraction speed. The hunt will happen in full sun. The old bull is there. 200 yards across the prairie. Triceratops, 3 tons of horn and bone and frill. He's grazing, head down, the massive beak tearing ferns at the root. He sees you emerge from the tree line, and his body turns. The frill comes up. A shield of solid bone, 3 feet across, scarred and chipped from 20 years of confrontations. 3 horns orient toward you. The 2 brow horns, each 3 feet of solid keratin over a bone core, point at your midsection. The nasal horn, shorter, thicker, guards the approach to the throat. You angle wide, add 100 yards to the gap between you and those horns. He rotates to track you, the entire body pivoting on the front feet, the hind legs shuffling to maintain the orientation. The frill catches the morning sun, and the scars on it are visible even at distance. Long pale lines where horn tips from other males scored the bone during mating season. He has survived everything this world has thrown at him for 20 years, and the frill is his resume. Neither of you displays. Neither of you vocalizes. The geometry speaks for itself. You walk parallel, he rotates, the distance stays constant. You've tested a triceratops before. Years ago, a younger animal, smaller. You hit the frill with everything you had, and the impact bruised your jaw, and he spun, and the brow horn gouged a furrow across your thigh that took weeks to heal. The lesson encoded in the scar. The frill is not a target. The horns are not a bluff. The cost-benefit is terrible, and it never improves. Two large animals calculating the same equation and arriving at the same answer. Not today. The frill lowers as you clear his comfort zone. He goes back to grazing. You go back to hunting. The arrangement has held for years. It will hold until one of you is old enough to tip the math. A flock of small birds, or what will one day be called birds, feathered theropods, no larger than pigeons, lifts from the fern prairie as you pass. A burst of brown and grey wings catching the morning sun. They chatter at you in alarm calls that have no effect. You are not a threat to things that can fly. The sky is the one territory you cannot claim, and everything that lives in it knows this. The birds resettle behind you, picking insects from the fern stems, and the prairie absorbs you as if you were weather passing through. The Edmontosaurus herd is visible now, far across the prairie, grey-brown shapes moving south like a slow river. 30+ animals. The hooting calls carry across the open ground, deep and resonant, the contact calls of a social species maintaining cohesion. The matriarch is at the front. You can't see her clearly from here, but the formation tells you. The biggest animal leads, and the herd trusts her nose. The young ones cluster in the center. The bulls walk the flanks. The dust rises from their feet in a haze that catches the morning sun and turns it amber. They move with the patient rhythm of animals that eat all day and travel slowly because the food is everywhere, and the danger, as far as they know, is not. You stop at the prairie edge. The limper is out there somewhere, at the back of the herd, where he always is, the bad leg keeping him behind the pace. You can't see him from here, but his scent trail runs south from the forest, parallel to the herd's path. He's with them, following. The open ground is wrong, a mile of waist-high ferns with no cover. If you charge across the prairie, they'll see you from half a mile, and the matriarch will turn the herd before you close a quarter of the distance. The hunger says go. The instinct says no, not here. The river, the crossing, where the mud slows them and the bank hides you. The plan assembles itself from pieces that were never separate. The limper's scent trail heading south, the herd's trajectory toward the crossing, the geometry of the bank that you've used before. The pieces fit because the landscape designed them to fit. Water crossings are killing grounds. They have been killing grounds for 100 million years. The prey animals know this. They cross anyway because the water is on the other side of the food, and the food is on the other side of the water, and the risk is the price of the meal. The predators know this too. You position yourself at the toll booth, and you wait. You look south. The tree line curves towards the river. Cover all the way. If you stay in the trees, paralleling the herd's path, you can reach the crossing before they do. They're walking, grazing pace, stopping to feed, moving on. You'll be moving with purpose. You turn back toward the forest and the ferns close behind you. The last memory of the river crossing surfaces, not as images or narrative, but as a sensation in your jaw. This approach, this path through the trees, last wet season. An old female Edmontosaurus, separated from the herd at the crossing. The water slowed her, and you came from the bank, and the chase was 20 yards, and the taste was rich and bloody, and the satisfaction of a full belly lasted 4 days. That was 2 months ago. The hunger since then has been a growing presence, and today it ends or it doesn't. The canopy closes above you. The sun becomes filtered light and moving shadow. Your footsteps resume their rhythm, each one a tremor in the earth, a seismic announcement that nothing in this forest can misinterpret. Ahead, growing steadily, the sound of water over gravel. The river, the place where this hunt will happen. The walk south covers 2 miles through the river edge forest. Your shadow shortens as the sun climbs, and the morning heat builds until your muscles run at peak efficiency. Warm, loose, dangerous. Through breaks in the canopy, you catch glimpses of the herd, grey-brown shapes moving at grazing pace, stopping to feed on cycad shoots, moving on. Their hooting calls are a constant, carried on air that gets thicker with moisture as the river nears. The limper's scent strengthens with every quarter mile. He's moving slower than the herd, falling behind, and his trail is getting fresher. 6 hours old, then 4, then 3. The wrong note in his scent grows sharper. The inflammation is active. The bad leg is working against him. The river sound builds from a whisper to a presence. Water over stone, the smell of clay and wet gravel, and the green of algae baking in shallow water. Your heart rate has been elevated for the last mile, not from exertion, from what's coming. The trees thin ahead, the undergrowth thickens, the crossing is close. You pass a stand of tall conifers, Araucaria, their trunks straight as pillars, their canopy a dark umbrella that blocks the sun completely. The air beneath them is cool and still, and smells of resin. Sap has oozed from a wound in the nearest trunk, amber, golden, sticky. A beetle is trapped in it, legs still twitching. In 67 million years, someone will split that amber open and find the beetle preserved perfect as the day it stuck. Right now, it is just a dying insect in a forest you are walking through on your way to kill something. The ground slopes toward the river. You can feel the gradient through your feet. The angle changes, and your tail adjusts, and your weight shifts backward to compensate. The soil gets softer, wetter. Your prints go deeper here, and the water that seeps into them is brown and warm. The forest is denser here. The river feeds the soil, and the soil feeds everything. Ferns shoulder high, fallen logs thick with moss, cycads pressing together so their fronds overlap, and the canopy is a continuous ceiling. You push through the undergrowth, and the ferns flatten and spring back behind you like the forest is trying to heal the wound of your passing. The sound of moving water has gone from background to foreground. You feel it in your sternum now, a low vibration that has nothing to do with your heartbeat. The river is close. You can smell the change in the soil. The clay content increases near the water, and the decomposition products shift from terrestrial fungi to aquatic algae, and the mineral signature of washed gravel. The air itself is wetter. Droplets form on the fern fronds and drip steadily, a constant percussion that adds a new layer to the sound of your approach. Your skin registers the humidity as a thin film of moisture that clings and doesn't evaporate. The forest is a different organism near the river. Denser, greener, more vertical. The trees fighting for light in a strip of ground that never dries out. The wind is right. It blows from the north, from where the herd is approaching, directly into your face. Every chemical signal they release, dung, sweat, breath, the pheromones of 30+ bodies, streams past your nostrils in a continuous feed. They walk in clean air. You walk in their information. They have no idea you're here. The limper's tracks are in the soft earth, 3-toed, each print 2 feet across, pressed deep. But the left rear is different. The toe drags a furrow before the foot plants, and the impression is shallower, and the stride is 6 inches shorter on the left side, a limp written in clay. You don't need to see him. The ground tells his story. You stop. Lower your head to the tracks until your nostrils are an inch from the earth. The scent is rich. His foot pressed the soil and released layers. Body oils, skin cells. The sweet, sick note of inflammation. Stronger here where the weight went through the bad leg. You inhale and the information floods. His age, his sex, his health, his direction, his speed. A biography extracted from a footprint. Fresh, within 4 hours. The edges haven't dried. Water still seeps back into the depressions. You can read more than presence. The depth of the print tells his weight. 3 tons, maybe 3.5. The spacing tells his speed. Walking pace, not grazing pace. Moving with purpose. The drag of the left rear tells you the injury is worsening. The furrow is deeper than it was in the tracks you found on the ridge this morning. He's getting slower. Other trails crisscross the soil. Small theropod prints, 3-toed, bird-like, delicate. A crocodilian belly drag. A wide, smooth track with claw marks at the edges. Something large that hauled itself to the water and back. A turtle shell impression, half circle, patient. The riverside is everyone's highway. Your jaw muscles clench, not in response to anything visible. A hunger reflex, involuntary. The jaw wanting to close on flesh the way a fist clenches around nothing. 6 days of empty jaws have made the ache constant. A background tension in your skull that colors every sensation. The ache is worst in the temporalis muscles. The massive bands of tissue that run from your jaw hinge to the top of your skull. They are designed to deliver the most powerful bite in the history of land animals, and they are asking to be used. The request is not polite. You pause at a bend in the trail where the river is visible through the trees. A flash of reflected sky between the trunks. The water is moving from left to right, south, catching the midday sun and throwing it back in white sparks. A crocodilian lies on the far bank. 15 feet of armored patience, jaws slightly open, thermo-regulating. It sees you through the trees and does not move. You are not a threat to something that lives in water. You are not a competitor. You occupy different shelves in the same pantry. It watches you pass with the ancient indifference of a lineage that was old when dinosaurs were new. A pile of Edmontosaurus dung sits in the trail, fresh, 2 hours old at most, large, plant matter visible, poorly digested conifers. You lower your head to it, not to eat, to read. The freshness tells you the herd stopped here to feed on tough foliage. They paused, they grazed, they moved on slowly. The memory arrives as sensation. 6 days ago. This same forest, the herd at the prairie edge. You were moving through the tree line, patient, disciplined, the wind in your favor. And then something shifted. A restlessness in your legs. A spike of hunger that overrode the instinct. You broke cover 200 yards short of ambush range. The matriarch's head snapped up, the huge flat skull rotating, the nostrils flaring, the alarm call erupting from her throat like a siren. The sound travelled through the herd in a wave, and 30 animals were running before you'd covered 50 yards. You sprinted. Your lungs burned. Your legs churned the ferns to pulp. But 300 yards of open ground against 30 animals that can run as fast as you can is not a hunt. It is a lesson. You stood in the flattened ferns, chest heaving, and the hunger stayed. Not this time. This time, the wind is right, and the limper is heading to the crossing, and you will be there first, and you will be still, and you will wait until the geometry is perfect, and then you will end the hunger in a single motion. The discipline is not natural. It is learned. You were not born patient. As a juvenile, 3 years old, thin, ribs showing, freshly expelled from your mother's territory, you chased everything. Lizards, small theropods, even insects. You ran until your legs burned and caught nothing because you ran at things that were faster than you for distance. The ambush instinct developed through years of failure and starvation. The realization, felt, not thought, that the prey comes to certain places, and the predator who is already there wins. The water crossing was the classroom. The river was the teacher. Patience is a scar from lessons that almost killed you. You pick up the pace, longer strides, tail swinging more aggressively for balance. The forest thins ahead, more light filtering through the canopy, the river sound growing. Small things flee from your footsteps. A bird-like theropod launches from a branch and crashes through the foliage in a panic of feathers. The trees open and the river appears. 40 feet of moving water glinting in the midday sun. The sound is full. Water over gravel. The deeper note of current pressing against the bank, the splash of something unseen upstream. The smell is different from the forest. Clean water and fish and clay and algae, green and mineral. The air feels open. You wade in. The water hits your feet and the temperature difference is immediate, cool against the heat your skin has been absorbing all morning. A relief that travels up your legs. The bottom is firm, gravel over clay, and your feet find purchase without slipping. Your body displaces water, and a wave pushes outward across the crossing. Small fish scatter in silver flashes, darting into the deeper channel. The water rises to your shins. The current pushes gently, not enough to move you. Nothing in this river could move you. Your feet read the bottom as you walk, gravel, then sand, then clay. You know this crossing, the widest shallow point for 2 miles in either direction. Every large herbivore in the territory uses it, and the banks are worn smooth and the bottom compacted by generations of heavy feet. Movement on the far bank. A shape resolving from the shadows. Low, broad, armoured. Ankylosaurus. 4 meters of living fortress. The armor plates tessellate across its back like hand-laid tiles, each one fused bone, layered in alternating sizes. Large plates surrounded by smaller ossicles. The whole surface a mosaic of biological ceramic that your teeth cannot crack. The tail swings slowly as it drinks. A bony club the size of a watermelon. Fused vertebrae locked rigid, attached to a handle of tendon and muscle that can swing with lateral force, sufficient to shatter your leg bone at the knee. You know this because every predator who has ever tested an ankylosaur has learned it. And the ones who survived the lesson passed the knowledge through 1,000,000 years of instinct. You stop in the shallows, 30 feet apart. Your posture is neutral, head level, jaws closed. Not hunting, not threatening. The ankylosaur lifts its head from the water and looks at you. The small eyes register your shape and your size. The tail rises, not a swing, just a lift. A statement of capability. You hold her gaze, she holds yours. The water runs between you, around both sets of legs, indifferent to the calculation happening above it. She is older than you. The armor plates on her back are weathered and sun-bleached at the edges, the ossicles worn smooth by years of rain and dust, and the abrasion of low branches she has walked beneath 10,000 times. She has outlived dozens of predators. The tail has probably swung in anger fewer than a dozen times in her life, and every one of those swings ended the conversation. She carries the confidence of an animal that has never been successfully attacked, and the posture says she plans to keep the record intact. A long minute passes. 2 armored things standing in the same water, each knowing exactly what the other carries. Then she turns back to the river, drinks. The tail lowers, dismissed. You wade the rest of the crossing and step onto the near bank. Soft earth. Hadrosaur tracks everywhere. Dozens of crossings layered in the clay. A palimpsest of feet that tells you this is the spot. The tracks overlap and compress and erase each other in a record of generations. Some are fresh, today, yesterday. Some are old, hardened impressions from the dry season that the rains haven't washed away. A few are yours. 3-toed, deep, the distinctive print of a bipedal predator stamped into the same soil as the 3-toed prints of its prey. The 2 signatures coexist in the clay the way they coexist in the ecosystem. The predator following the prey ignoring the predator's tracks, because what good would it do to fear ground that has already been walked? This is where the herd enters the water. This is where it happens. You can read the crossing like a map. The deepest hadrosaur prints are on the north bank, the entry side, where the animals descend the slope and commit to the water. The prints in the river itself are washed away by current. On this bank, the south bank, your bank, the prints are shallower because the animals are climbing out, their weight distributed forward, their bodies rising from water to land. The best ambush point is the transition zone, where the prey is in the water, slowed by clay and current, and the predator is on solid ground, accelerating from a standing start. You've done the math with your body 100 times. The math has never changed. You walk the bank, looking for the cut in the earth. There, where the river carved into the bank during last season's floods, a 6-foot shelf undercut with ferns growing over the lip. You step down into it. Your body fits, barely. Your head drops below the bank line, and the ferns drape across your back. And from the crossing, 20 yards away, you are a shadow, a feature of the landscape. The wind moves over your back, north to south. Perfect. Anything approaching from the north walks into the wind, and you breathe their scent. They breathe clean air. You lower your body. The cool clay presses against your belly. Your chin settles onto the earth. Your nostrils stay clear. The hardest thing, lie still. Every muscle wants to move. The hunger demands action. Run, find something, anything, close your jaws on flesh. But the body remembers. 6 days of empty stomach because you broke cover too early. The lesson is written in starvation. Your muscles twitch involuntarily, the thigh flexors contracting and releasing in microspasms. The body rehearsing the charge it hasn't been given permission to execute. Your claws knead the clay like a cat working a blanket. The tip of your tail flicks, the only external motion you allow. A small release valve for the pressure building in every fibre. The pteranodons watch from their dead trees across the river. 5 of them, folded on bare branches, 30-foot wingspans tucked and patient. Long beaks, dark eyes. They've seen this before. Predator hides, prey arrives, killing happens, scraps follow. They are parasites of your violence, feeding on the aftermath. Time passes, the sun moves, shadows shift across the riverbank. An hour. Your breathing slows to 6 breaths per minute. Your heart rate drops to a resting pulse. Energy conservation. Every calorie budgeted. The wait is the hunt. Everything before this was walking. Everything after will be violence. But the wait, the hour of perfect stillness while your body demands action and your instinct holds the line. This is the skill that separates the predators who eat from the ones who starve. The river fills the silence with its own vocabulary. Water over gravel, a constant hiss, textured, varying with depth and speed. Water around stones, a deeper note, a gurgle that changes pitch as the current shifts. The drip of condensation from overhanging ferns, irregular, percussive, each drop hitting the surface with a plick that sends tiny rings radiating outward. A fish surfaces, a flash of silver green, the mouth breaking the tension of the water, a gulp of air, and then the rings spreading outward in perfect concentric circles that bump against the bank and die. The light shifts as a cloud crosses the sun, and the shadows on the bottom change from sharp to soft, and back again. The water is alive in a way that has nothing to do with you. It was here before you. It will be here after. Your body settles deeper into the clay. The longer you lie still, the more the earth accepts your weight. The mud molds to you, to the curve of your belly, the line of your jaw, the massive drum of your chest. You become a feature of the bank. The insects stop treating you as an obstacle and begin treating you as terrain. A beetle climbs the ridge of your shoulder blade. A spider anchors a strand of web to the tip of a dorsal scale. In another hour, you would be invisible. You don't have another hour. But the principle holds. Insects work the waterline. Dragonflies with 2-foot wingspans patrol in precise geometries. Ancient insects, older than dinosaurs, older than the trees they hunt above. A beetle crawls across your forearm, and your skin twitches it off. A mosquito lands on your neck and bites. The sting is nothing. You do not move. You lift your head 6 inches. Test the air. The wind hasn't shifted. North to south, still perfect. Lower your head back to the wet earth. The body remembers this bank, this position. Not as images, not as a story, as a physical echo in the muscles. The first time you found this crossing, you were younger, smaller, 7 years old, and still learning the territory your mother had left you. You followed a hadrosaur trail to the river and found the cut in the bank, and something ancient in your wiring said, "Here. This is where you wait." The first kill at this crossing was clumsy. A glancing strike, the prey escaping into the shallows, a second charge that exhausted you. But the geometry worked. The bank and the water and the wind. You've refined the technique over 5 years and 40 kills. The crossing is yours. A vibration. Through the clay, through your belly, through the jaw pressed flat against the earth. Faint at first. Rhythmic. Not one animal, many. Heavy. 3-toed feet striking packed earth in a loose cadence. 30+ large herbivores walking in formation. The calls arrive with the vibration. Deep, hooting, Edmontosaurus communication, herd cohesion, contact calls, the constant chatter of a social species on the move. The sound gets louder. They're close, within half a mile, coming from the north, heading south to the water. The pteranodons shift on their branches. They hear it too. Your heart rate spikes. The adrenaline cascade begins without permission, without decision, without thought. Blood floods the thigh muscles. Your pupils dilate. Your jaw muscles pre-tension, the fibers shortening and stiffening in preparation for a bite that hasn't happened yet. You are no longer resting. You are loaded. A spring compressed to its mechanical limit, waiting for the trigger. Open your jaws, silently. Test the gape, full range. Close them. Shift your feet in the bank. Dig the claws into the clay for purchase. The launch will need traction. Your nostrils flare wide. The herd scent floods in. 30 animals, their collective dung and sweat and breath, a wall of smell. And there, threading through the mass like a single off-note in a choir, the limper's trail, distinct, close, coming. The first shapes emerge from the tree line to the north, grey-brown bodies, duck-billed heads bobbing with each step. The matriarch leads, the largest animal in the herd, her head raised, scanning. She pauses at the edge of the open ground. Her nostrils test the air. The wind holds, north to south. She gets nothing from you. She steps forward and the herd flows behind her. A loose column of 30+ animals, each one 3 to 4 tons of muscle and bone and flat, grinding teeth. The young ones are in the center, sheltered by the bodies of adults. The old ones walk the edges. The hooting calls are loud now, close, contact sounds, herd cohesion calls, the constant chatter of social animals confirming to each other that the world is safe enough to keep walking. The ground trembles. 100 tons of herbivore moving as one body toward the water. You feel it through your chin, through your belly, through the clay beneath you. The vibration has a texture, the collective footfalls blending into a continuous rumble that tells you the herd is tight, moving as one, not scattered. Good. A tight herd leaves stragglers. A tight herd protects the center and forgets the back. The matriarch enters the water first. She tests the depth with her forefeet, feels the bottom, decides. She moves forward, and the herd follows her lead. This is how Edmontosaurus survive. Numbers, vigilance, the accumulated wisdom of the oldest female. She positions herself upwind by habit, checking the air every few steps, reading it the way you read it. She's been leading this crossing for 15 years. She knows the depth. She knows the current. She knows the smell of predator. But she can't protect the one at the back. You scan the column. Everybody, every gait. The young ones, quick, grouped tight, healthy. Not them. The adults, steady stride, strong legs, alert. Not them. He emerges last from the tree line, 50 yards behind the main body, alone. The gap between him and the nearest adult is widening with every step, the herd moving at grazing pace, which is his maximum pace. And even that is costing him. His head is lower than the others. His breathing is visible, the ribcage expanding and contracting faster than the steady bellows rhythm of the healthy animals ahead of him. He has been walking all morning, and the effort shows. The limp is visible. The left rear leg swings outward with each step, a fraction of a second behind the rhythm of the other three. He's full size, 3 tons, maybe 3.5. But the bad leg makes him half the animal he should be. He walks like a table with one short leg. Every step a small negotiation with balance. There is only the limper, his body, his gait, the distance between his position and yours. Your heart hammers, not in your chest, in your entire body. Your ribs vibrate. The muscles in your thighs are so tense they ache. Hold position. Don't move. Let him get into the water. Let the clay take the bad leg. The matriarch is mid-crossing now, knee-deep, moving steadily, the water parting around her legs. The herd follows, a river of grey-brown bodies churning the shallows white. The limper reaches the bank. He hesitates. He can see the water. He can see the herd pulling away from him, the gap widening. He steps in. The water rises around his feet. The clay pulls at the bad leg. The left rear sinks deeper than the others, the muscles straining to extract it from the suction. His good legs churn, steady and strong, each step sending up a spray. But the bad leg drags. Each time it plants and pulls free, the effort costs him a fraction of a second, and the fractions accumulate. His stride shortens. His body tips slightly left with each step, compensating for the weakness. The whole 3-ton frame listing like a ship taking water. He's knee-deep now, mid-crossing, alone in the water. The herd is ahead of him, a wall of grey-brown bodies churning the shallows, pulling away. The gap is 10 yards and growing. He calls, a hooting sound, short and urgent. Not the deep contact call of a comfortable animal, but the higher, faster call of one that knows it's falling behind. The herd doesn't slow. The matriarch doesn't turn. The herd protects the herd. The individual protects itself. Something releases. Not a thought. Not a decision. A biological event. A cascade of signals that began in the base of your brainstem and spread through your body like fire through dry wood. The muscles unlock. The coiled power in your thighs fires its first signal. Now. Every muscle fires at once. Your claws tear the bank and the clay erupts beneath your feet. Your tail whips left for counterbalance and your body clears the shelf in a single motion. 9 tons airborne for a fraction of a second. The ground cratering under the impact when you land. The ferns behind you flatten from the shock wave of displaced air. 3 strides to full speed, 30 miles per hour. The first stride is pure force, the right leg driving down, the foot spreading on impact, the claws gripping the riverbed gravel and launching you forward. The second stride finds rhythm. The tail swinging right, the torso rotating, the weight transferring from leg to leg in the rocking gait that makes your skull bob forward and back like a battering ram cycling for the next blow. The third stride is where the speed arrives. The legs cycling faster than anything 9 tons has a right to move. Each footfall an explosion of water and silt. The spray erupting around you in a wall of white that glitters in the midday sun. The water resists your legs, and the resistance is nothing. Your thighs are pistons built from 300 million years of terrestrial predation, refined and enlarged, and perfected into the most powerful locomotive muscles in the history of life on land. You run through the spray. The river breaks around your shins like glass. The sound comes from your chest, not a roar. Deeper than that. A sound that travels through the ground as much as the air, below the range of hearing but above the range of ignoring. Infrasound. The water shakes with it. The hadrosaurs feel it in their bones before their ears process the sound. And by then, it doesn't matter what their ears say, because their legs are already moving. The herd detonates. 30 animals panic at once. A wall of sound, screaming, water erupting in geysers from stamping feet. Bodies collide. A juvenile stumbles and goes under and comes up thrashing, its mouth open, crying for a mother who is already running. The matriarch's call cuts through the chaos, a blast like a foghorn, a sound that means run and means it absolutely. And the herd drives north, towards the far bank, a stampede of churning legs and flying spray. The river churns white. The noise is total. Hadrosaur screams, water, your own charge call still resonating through the ground, the slap of heavy bodies against the current. You don't hear any of it. The tunnel holds. The limper is 10 yards away. He tries to run. His good legs churn the water, and for one stride he's fast, powerful, desperate, 3 tons of animal fighting to reach the speed that the bad leg won't allow. Then the left rear plants, the muscles fire, and the leg fails. It buckles outward at the joint, and he stumbles, and his head goes under for a half second, and he comes up streaming water, mouth wide open. The distress call, high and raw and stripped of everything except the animal underneath the animal. The sound every prey species makes when the predator is too close to outrun. The herd doesn't stop. The matriarch doesn't turn back. They are running. 5 yards. The water is knee-deep. Each of your steps sends waves across the crossing that slap against the far bank. The limper turns his head. His eye is large, brown, wet. For a fraction of a second, you see your own reflection in it. The skull, the open jaws, the teeth. He tries to lunge forward. The bad leg drags. He goes nowhere. Your head drops, your neck extends, the muscles firing in sequence from shoulder to skull. Your jaws open to their full gape. 4 feet of mouth, 60 teeth, each one a serrated spike of enamel designed for one purpose. The air rushes into the void. Impact. The base of his neck. Your jaws close. 12,000 pounds per square inch. The teeth puncture hide, then muscle, then vertebrae. The spine separates, and you feel it through your jaw. a crack that transmits through bone to your skull, a structural failure that you register the way a locksmith registers the click of tumblers. The body goes slack, the legs stop, the tail drops. The distress cry cuts to silence. Dead. Instant. The transition from living animal to dead weight happens in a fraction of a second. The electrochemical storm of a working nervous system collapsing to silence. The muscles that were straining a moment ago going soft. The eye that held your reflection going flat and dull. 4 tons of animal, alive and fighting, becomes 4 tons of meat. You hold the bite. Your jaw muscles sustain the pressure for 3 seconds longer than necessary. An instinct that ensures the kill is complete, that the spine is fully separated, that there is no possibility of a reflex kick or a last surge. The body does not move. The water around it turns pink, then red, the blood diluting into the current and streaming south. You lift your head, your neck muscles contract, and 4 tons of dead weight rises from the water. The carcass hangs from your jaws, streaming water, the legs dangling. You carry it to the bank in 3 steps and drop it on solid ground. The impact shakes the earth. Stand over the kill. Your chest heaves. The air enters your lungs in great bellows drafts, each inhale filling the chest cavity to its maximum, each exhale a gust that flattens the grass at your feet. Water streams off your body, off the ridges of your skull, down the scales of your neck, dripping from the curve of your belly in a steady patter that mixes with the blood spreading across the bank. Your legs are shaking. Not weakness, overflow. The muscles that drove you 30 miles per hour through knee-deep water are still firing, still twitching, the fibers contracting and releasing in small, involuntary spasms as the adrenaline works its way out of your system. Your claws are dug into the earth, and your toes are spread wide, anchoring you, the body bracing itself against its own excess energy. The river settles. The waves from the charge flatten, and the current resumes, and the water that ran white with churning legs runs clear again. Downstream, a pink thread appears where the blood reaches the flow. The herd is gone. You can hear them crashing through the far tree line, the matriarch's calls fading north, growing fainter, folding into the general noise of the forest until they are indistinguishable from wind. The pteranodons haven't moved from their branches. The crossing is empty. Just the river. Just your breathing. Just the kill. Lower your head to the carcass. The body is still warm, the residual heat of a living animal. The body temperature that was 102 degrees 5 seconds ago and is now dropping degree by degree towards the ambient temperature of the air and the mud and the water that is pooling around both of you. The blood is bright where your teeth pierced the neck, pooling in the hollow of the collarbone, so red it looks artificial against the grey-brown hide. The smell fills your entire world. Meat, blood, fat, organ tissue. The particular chemical signature of freshly dead flesh that is different from the smell of living animal, and different from the smell of carrion. This is a moment between. The kill fresh smell. The smell that triggers every feeding circuit in your brain simultaneously. The smell that says, eat now, eat fast, eat everything. 6 days of hunger meet 4 tons of food. You tear into the flank. Your teeth puncture and grip and pull, and a 30-pound strip of muscle separates from the body with a wet sound. Red and white. You tilt your head back and swallow it whole. Your throat stretches to accommodate the mass. It goes down. Your stomach acid, strong enough to dissolve bone, will do the rest. The taste, blood, iron-rich and warm, fills your mouth, and the taste is the taste of being alive. Muscle tissue, dense and fibrous. The protein your body has been cannibalizing its own reserves to replace. The first swallow hits your stomach, and the chemical cascade begins. Hormones, neurotransmitters, the satiation signals that have been silent for 6 days firing in sequence. Tear, pull, swallow, the rhythm establishes itself. Each bite, 30 to 50 pounds. Each swallow, the throat distending, the neck muscles working the mass downward. Your forearms press against the carcass and push it down while your jaws pull up. Leverage. They have this one function and they perform it well. The carcass opens, the ribs appear, stripped of the overlying muscle. The chest cavity reveals the organs. The liver first, dark, dense, slippery. You pull it free in one motion and swallow it in 2 pieces. Rich in vitamins and minerals that muscle meat cannot provide. Then, the stomach. You tear it open, and the partially digested plant matter spills across the bank, and you eat that too, because your gut can extract nutrients from vegetation that your teeth cannot process raw. The different textures register. The smooth density of organ tissue, the fibrous tear of muscle, the slippery mass of intestine, each with its own taste, each satisfying a different deficit. The kidney, small, dark, iron-rich. The heart, dense and muscular, a different texture from skeletal muscle, tougher, chewier, the flavor more concentrated. You eat it in 3 bites, and the blood that flows from the severed aorta is darker than the rest. Richer, the blood that kept a 3-ton animal moving for 4 years. The warmth of the meal spreads through you. Not just the physical heat of fresh meat, though that is present, the body temperature of the limper still lingering in the tissues, but the metabolic warmth of digestion beginning. Your stomach acids activate. Enzymes flood the bolus of half-chewed flesh. The chemical process of turning another animal's body into fuel for your own has begun, and it will continue for the next 36 hours, breaking down protein into amino acids, fat into fatty acids, connective tissue into the building blocks your muscles need to repair the damage of 6 days of self-consumption. The hollow behind your ribs fills. Mouthful by mouthful, the 6-day cavity contracts. Your jaw muscles relax between bites. The frantic pace slows to something deliberate. The desperation drains from your body, replaced by warmth and weight, and a fullness that spreads from your gut through your limbs. The pteranodons descend, 5 shapes banking on 30-foot wingspans, landing 20 yards from the carcass, folding their wings and hopping forward on their wrist knuckles. Patient. They know the sequence. Behind them, a dromaeosaur emerges from the ferns, feathered, amber-eyed, bold. It positions itself between the pterosaurs and the carcass, ready to dart in. Small theropods gather at the periphery, quick, nervous, watching everything. The hierarchy assembles. Size determines access. You are at the top. Everything else waits. Your jaws close on the femur, the thigh bone, dense, thick, a structural masterpiece of evolution. You bite down. The pressure builds. A grinding sensation transmits through your skull. The bone cracks, then shatters. The marrow inside is yellow-white, rich with fat, and you scrape the cavity clean with your tongue. The taste is different from muscle, richer, oilier, a sweetness that triggers something deeper than hunger. Fuel, pure caloric density. Between bites, your head lifts. A scent on the wind, from the east, familiar, wrong. The sharp musk of another adult predator, female, large, the rival. Her scent is fresh, within 2 hours. She's at the boundary. She smells the blood. Every predator within 5 miles smells the blood. Your head comes up fully. Blood on your teeth, on your muzzle, dripping from your jaw. You look east, the tree line, nothing visible, but the scent is there. The instinct runs through you. The kill is here. You are here. She is far. Feed now. Defend later. Your head drops back to the carcass. Resume feeding, slower now. The urgency is gone. Your body takes what it wants rather than what it needs. Selective bites, the choicest sections, the rib meat, the tenderloin equivalent that runs along the spine, the thick pads of fat that sit behind the shoulders. You leave the tough connective tissue, the tendons, the cartilage. The scavengers will handle those. She won't cross the boundary for a kill site this close to a feeding adult. She'll test the border. She always tests. The rival is a fact of your life, the way the river is a fact, and the ridge is a fact. She has been at the eastern boundary for 2 seasons, growing stronger each year, and one day she will be bigger than you, or you will be older than her, and the calculus will shift. But not today. Today you are 9 tons and fed and standing over a fresh kill. Today the math is in your favor. The body is half consumed, ribs exposed and stripped, organs gone, 1 haunch remaining. The ground is dark with blood and fluid, and the insects have found it. Flies arriving in clouds, beetles working the edges. The pteranodons inch closer. You tear the remaining haunch free and swallow the last major piece. Your stomach is full, tight, heavy with meat. You stand and step back from the carcass, and your belly sways with the weight of it. The fullness is total. A heavy, warm, radiating satisfaction that spreads from your gut through your entire body. Your muscles relax. Your breathing deepens to a slow rhythm. Your heart rate drops. 6 days of hollow desperation. Gone. Replaced by the oldest peace any animal can know. A full belly and solid ground beneath your feet. Small theropods, compies, some of them, no bigger than chickens, dart in and out in a frenzy of opportunism, snatching scraps and fleeing if anything larger so much as glances their way. The hierarchy is automatic. Size determines access. Courage determines how close you get to the next size up. A turtle emerges from the river and begins working the blood-soaked earth at the water's edge, scraping at the nutrient-rich soil with its beak. The ecosystem of a kill site assembles around you in minutes. A temporary community that exists for as long as the meat lasts and dissolves the moment the bones are clean. You lower yourself to the ground 10 feet from the carcass. The scavengers can have the edges. The bones are yours for tomorrow. Your chin settles onto the wet earth. Your eyes half close. The post-feeding torpor descends. A heaviness in every muscle. A warmth that has nothing to do with the sun. The afternoon compresses. The sun hangs directly overhead, and your dark skin absorbs the heat, and the world slows to the speed of digestion. Your breathing drops to 6 breaths per minute. Your eyes are half-lidded. The scavengers work the carcass around you. The pteranodons have opened the belly cavity and their beaks rise and fall in a steady rhythm. The dromaeosaur makes repeated raids, growing bolder each time, its amber eyes watching you for any sign of objection. The rival's scent persists on the east wind. Not closer, not farther. She's circling the boundary, pacing, testing whether the kill has made you careless. 2 hours slide past. The shadows lengthen. The afternoon light goes from white to gold. Your body stirs. Not the hunger. That's gone. Something older. The territorial drive, suppressed all morning by the single focus of the hunt, surfaces now that the belly is full. Your head lifts from the ground. You test the wind. East, the rival, still there. Time to remind her where the line is. You rise from the rest. The torpor lifts in layers. First the eyes clear, then the muscles remember tension. Then the 9 tons of you become vertical again. The body doing it is different from the one that stood at dawn. Heavier, slower. The belly sways with undigested meat, but the muscles underneath are fed. The reserves are replenished. The strength that was bleeding away for 6 days has come flooding back. The carcass has been reduced. The ribs stand exposed, stripped clean by pteranodon beaks. The belly cavity is a hollow shell. Insects work the margins. The dromaeosaur is still there. Amber eyes, a strip of connective tissue in its jaws. It looks up at you, and it doesn't run. It knows you're leaving. You mark the kill. Urine, sharp and acrid, on the carcass and the ground around it. The chemical claim, mine, returning. Tomorrow at dawn, you'll come back for the bones and the marrow. Turn east. The rival's scent pulls at you. She's been out there all afternoon, circling the boundary while you fed and slept, testing. The hunger is gone, and in its absence, the territorial drive fills the space it left. Your stride lengthens. Your head comes up. The posture shifts from fed predator to something more aggressive. The full belly makes you confident, and the confidence sharpens the instinct that says, this is your ground, and everything on it answers to you. The walk east covers a mile through the cycad forest, each footstep heavy, the ground announcing your approach before your scent arrives. The undergrowth parts. The late afternoon light comes through the canopy in long golden shafts that catch the dust and pollen suspended in the air. A monitor lizard, 6 feet of armored muscle, lies across a fallen log, soaking up the last heat of the day. It sees you coming and slides off the far side without hurry, disappearing into a gap between the roots that your foot couldn't fit through. The small predators of this forest have their own lives, their own hunts, their own territorial disputes. None of them concern you. You are the weather they work around. The tree line thins, the cycad forest gives way to open scrubland, low bushes, dry grass, rocky soil. The boundary ridge rises ahead, a natural line where the fertile territory of the river valley meets the drier, leaner country to the east. Her marks are fresh, urine on a fallen log, her scent, laid down within the last hour. You lower your head and the smell fills your sinuses. The information arrives in layers. The base layer, adult female Tyrannosaurus, between 7 and 10 years old. The second layer, healthy, no infection, no injury, the clean, sharp scent of a body running at full efficiency. The third layer, well-fed. Her recent diet included ceratopsian, which means she took a young triceratops in her own territory. The fat content in her urine confirms it. She is not here because she needs your food. The fourth layer, the one that matters most, aggression. The scent markers of a T-Rex in territorial mode are chemically distinct from those of a T-Rex in hunting mode or resting mode. The hormones are different. The pheromone profile shifts. Her mark smells like confrontation. This is ambition. She is here because she wants your ground. Claw scrapes on a conifer trunk. Deep gouges, bark stripped to the pale heartwood underneath. She pressed hard. You mark over them. Your urine obliterates her scent on the log. Fresh over fresh, a louder signal on the same frequency. The chemical warfare is precise. Your mark carries your weight class, your health status, your hormonal state, the fact that you fed recently. All of this information is encoded in compounds that her nose will decode as clearly as you decoded hers. She will stand where you're standing now. She will lower her head. She will read your mark and know that you are bigger, that you are fed, that you are not going anywhere. Your claws dig into the same conifer, deeper gouges from bigger claws, the bark peeling away in long strips. This ridge has been the line for 2 seasons, since the fight that scarred you both, and it is maintained by exactly this: constant reinforcement, presence, answering presence. Without the maintenance, the line erodes. A sound, through the ground first, heavy footsteps, transmitted through the soil and into your feet, then through the air, bipedal, measured, the controlled pace of a large predator walking toward a confrontation it has chosen. Not running, not stalking, walking. The pace of an animal that wants to be heard, that is announcing its approach the way you announced yours. Through weight and ground vibration, the seismic handshake of 2 animals that communicate through the planet's surface, as much as through the air above it. Your body responds before your brain processes the input. The muscles in your neck stiffen. Your jaw drops a fraction of an inch. Not a gape, not yet, but a readiness. The readiness of teeth. Your tail locks rigid behind you. Every hair trigger reflex in your body switches from patrol mode to confrontation mode. The neurochemistry shifting from the steady patrol burn of norepinephrine to the sharp edge of adrenaline. She crests the ridgeline 40 feet away, slightly smaller than you, 8 tons to your 9. Her coloring is darker, deep brown-black, mottled with olive, built leaner through the torso. The musculature is different, longer limbs, narrower hips, the build of an animal that relies on speed rather than mass. You are the hammer. She is the blade. Both effective, both dangerous. The scar you gave her shows on the right side of her jaw, white against the dark skin. A line of healed tissue, where your teeth broke the bone and the bone set crooked. Your own scar tightens on your flank. A body warning. This animal has cost you pain before, but you're bigger. You're fed. You hold this ground. You face her. Your head drops low, below shoulder height. The posture of challenge. Your jaws open. The full gape. 4 feet of teeth displayed. Blood still visible on the back molars. The exhale comes from deep in your chest. A subvocal rumble that travels through the ground. Infrasound. She doesn't hear it with her ears. She feels it in her ribs. She mirrors the posture. Head low, jaws open. Her gape is narrower, smaller skull. Her rumble comes back at a higher frequency. She holds position. She does not step back. One step forward. Your right foot plants in the scrub and the ground compresses, and the message is wait. 9 tons. She watches the step. Her eyes, golden brown, predator sharp, track your foot. She does not step back. The tension sits between you like a solid thing. 2 apex predators, 40 feet apart, running the same calculation. A fight could kill one. A fight could cripple both. Broken jaws, torn muscles, the infection that follows deep puncture wounds in a world without medicine. But territory is survival. Without territory, there is no hunting ground, no kills, no future. Another step. The gap closes to 35 feet. Your rumble deepens. Your tail stiffens behind you. A counterbalance, but also a signal. A stiff tail means the body is ready to lunge. She knows this. She reads your posture the way you read hers. Every angle, every tension, every shift in weight passed for threat assessment. Your claws dig into the dirt, and the furrows they leave are 6 inches deep. The silence between rumbles is worse than the sound. In the silence, the only sound is breathing. Yours, deep and controlled. Hers, slightly faster. 2 sets of lungs the size of bathtubs, cycling air through bodies built for violence. The scrubland around you is empty. Every small animal within earshot has fled or frozen. The boundary ridge belongs to you and her, and the decision that is about to be made. She steps back, 1 step, then a deliberate turn, not panicked, not fast. She pivots on her right foot and walks east into her own territory, her tail swinging in a controlled arc. The stride is unhurried. She is not fleeing. She is conceding this encounter. You watch her go. The dark shape diminishes, moving through the scrubland and then into the far trees. She'll be back. Next week. Next month. The boundary is a line you both redraw every time you visit it. The tension drains. Slowly. Muscle by muscle. Your jaw closes. Your head rises. The adrenaline ebbs and the muscles that were locked at combat tension release. A physical unwinding that leaves you briefly weaker, briefly hollow, the way a spring feels after it's been released. Your breathing slows. The rumble in your chest fades to silence. You mark the ridge one more time. Urine on the highest rock, where the wind will carry it furthest. The chemical flag, still here. Still 9 tons. Still holding. The scrubland is quiet around you. The confrontation scattered everything with ears. Small animals, birds, insects, and they haven't come back yet. You stand on the ridgeline alone, the largest thing for miles in any direction. And for a moment, there's nothing except the wind and the view and the particular solitude of being apex. Nothing hunts you. Nothing challenges you except your own kind. The only things that can kill you are time, disease, injury, and another Tyrannosaurus. The rest of the world is either food or furniture or irrelevant. You've won nothing permanent. You've held the line for another day. That's all territory ever is. The walk back takes you west, then south, retracing a route that your feet know without instruction. The sun drops towards the tree line, and the light goes horizontal, striking everything from the side, turning the ordinary forest into a landscape of long shadows and amber as edges. The cycad trunks glow warm on their western faces and go black on their eastern sides. The contrast sharpens every shape. A spider web between two fern fronds catches the light and blazes white, every strand visible, every junction a tiny star. The forest at this hour is the most beautiful version of itself, and you walk through it without noticing, because beauty is not a category your mind contains. You notice the temperature dropping. You notice the wind shifting from south to northwest. You notice the rival scent has faded to a trace on the eastern air. These things matter. The light is irrelevant. The kill site appears through the trees. The carcass is a skeleton now. The pteranodons have been thorough. Movement at the south tree line, two shapes, bipedal, the wrong size, bigger than dromaeosaurs, smaller than adults. The gait is unmistakable. T-Rex. Bipedal, tail-balanced, heavy, but lighter, younger, juveniles. 3 years old maybe, thin, their ribcages visible through the skin, the proportionally larger heads that haven't yet grown into the body's adult ratio. Their legs are long relative to their torso, built for the running that juveniles do more of than adults, because running is what you do when you can't fight. Every young Rex does this, leaves the birth territory at 2 or 3, wanders until it finds unclaimed ground, or a carcass it can steal. Most don't survive. They see you. They freeze. Every instinct in their undersized bodies fires at once. Adult female, full territory, kill fresh, dangerous. You don't charge. You lower your head, open your jaws, let the rumble build. Long, low. A sound that says one word, leave. They back away, stumbling over ferns, their tails swinging wild for balance, clumsy. Then they turn. Then they run. South, through the ferns, crashing through the undergrowth. Gone in seconds. The nest on the ridge. The thought arrives the way animal thoughts arrive. Not as a sentence, but as a body knowledge that has weight. 2 eggs last season. Neither hatched. The shells collapsed inward. Empty. These juveniles are someone else's young. Yours would have been this age. The moment passes. The architecture of your mind doesn't include the mechanism for dwelling. The empty nest is a fact, like the weather. It exists. You move through it. The juveniles will find territory or they won't. They will eat or they won't. The world does not negotiate with hunger, and it does not make exceptions for youth. You survived because you were fast enough and patient enough and lucky enough. The ones who weren't are bones in the forest floor. Their calcium already cycled back into the soil, feeding the ferns that feed the hadrosaurs, that feed the next generation of predators. The system does not waste. It does not mourn. It recycles. The evening is arriving in layers. The upper canopy still catches the sun, but the forest floor is in shadow. The temperature has dropped 3 degrees since you left the kill site, and your skin registers the change. Not as discomfort, but as information. The cooling air carries different scents than the warm air did. The night-blooming plants are beginning to open, pale flowers on climbing vines, releasing a sweetness that is designed for moths, and that your predator nose registers as background noise. The insects are changing shifts. The diurnal species retreat, and the nocturnal species emerge. Different frequencies, different flight patterns, a whole new workforce taking over the infrastructure of pollination and decomposition. The walk back to the ridge takes you through the fern prairie in the golden light of late afternoon. Your shadow stretches 40 feet ahead of you. The ferns are golden. The air is warm and softening. The old bull is still there, still grazing. He lifts his head as you pass, and the nostrils flare. He smells the blood on your muzzle. He turns away. The arrangement holds. Climb the ridge. The volcanic rock is warm from a full day of absorbing sun, and the heat radiates upward through your feet. The scar on your flank pulls on the slope. Your thigh muscles burn on the incline. Not the burn of a fresh body, but the deep ache of muscles that have charged, killed, fed, displayed, and walked for miles since dawn. The good tired. The tired that means the work is done, and the body has earned its rest. The ridge triggers the oldest memory. Not the scar memory, not the hunt memory. Older, the first memory. Warmth, darkness, pressure on all sides, then cracking, then light. The smell of sulfur, the first smell. The warmth of stone, the first sensation. And above you, blocking the light, a shape. Your mother. Her scent, the biggest thing in the world. The safest thing, the warm weight of her body over the nest. She's been gone for 3 seasons now. Her scent faded from the territory and never returned. Gone or dead. The distinction doesn't matter. The absence is the same. The nest depression waits at the top. Your body's shape, worn into the stone over years. You circle it 3 times, each circuit tighter and slower than the last. The ancient behavior, winding down, the day's tension releasing with each turn. Lower yourself into the depression. 9 tons settling onto warm volcanic rock. The stone accepts you. The familiar contours, the shallow groove where your tail rests, the slight rise that supports the curve of your ribcage, the smooth patch where your skull settles night after night. Your body knows this stone the way it knows the game trail, the way it knows the river crossing. By feel, by repetition, by the accumulated weight of 1,000 nights spent in the same position on the same warm rock. The warmth from below, volcanic heat, constant, reliable, rising from vents that have been active since before you were born, and will be active long after the last T-Rex walks the earth. The warmth from above, the day's stored sunlight, fading now as the rock begins its slow nightly release. The sulfur scent from the vents, faint and steady. The baseline smell of every night of your 12-year life. The smell of safety. The smell of the one place in this territory where nothing can reach you because the slope is steep and your hearing is sharp and no predator in its right mind approaches a sleeping adult T-Rex on a ridge with only one approach path. The sunset, amber deepening to copper, violet bleeding into a red so dark it looks like bruised fruit. Volcanic dust high in the atmosphere catches the last light and scatters it across a sky that is wider and wilder than any a human will see. The colors have no names because nothing that sees them has language. They exist purely. Light-striking particles, wavelengths separating, the physics of beauty happening without an audience that knows the word. You watch because your eyes are open and the light is there. The warmth on your face is the last direct sunlight you'll feel until morning, and your skin absorbs it with the practical gratitude of an animal that lives by the sun's schedule. The horizon swallows the light in stages. The amber band narrows, the copper darkens to rust. The violet climbs higher and deeper, and then the first star appears. A single point, hard and bright, in the deepening blue above the volcanic haze. Then 3 more, then a dozen. The sky fills from the top down, the darkness pouring stars into the Cretaceous night like grain into a bowl. Below you, the territory dims. The river becomes a silver thread, still catching the last glow from the western horizon. The fern prairie darkens from gold to grey. A herd of hadrosaurs, not the Limpers herd, a different group from the eastern floodplain, calls from somewhere in the middle distance. Their evening contact hoots low and steady, confirming to each other that the day ended and they survived it. The forest is already shadow. The boundary ridge is a dark line against the eastern sky. All of it yours, held for another day. The diurnal sounds fade, the last pterosaur call from the river, the last hadrosaur hoot from the far floodplain. The nocturnal world takes over, insects tuning their frequencies, the chirp of small mammals emerging from burrows. A distant splash from the river where something has entered the water. The temperature drops degree by degree, and the cooling air carries new scents. Night-blooming plants opening, nocturnal predators emerging, the particular mineral smell of volcanic rock releasing the day's heat. A rumble from below, not a predator, not weather. The earth itself, volcanic, subterranean, the deep bass note of a planet still cooling from its own formation. The same sound that has played under every day of your life. You don't notice it, the way you don't notice your own breathing. It is the background frequency of existence. Full belly, territory held, rival pushed back, kill site marked for tomorrow. A good day, the only kind of good day that exists in this world. You ate, you held your ground, you survived. The body knows it. The muscles relax into the stone. The jaw unclenches. The vigilance drops to its lowest setting. Your eyes close. Not a decision, a tide. The heartbeat slows from 60 to 40 to 30 beats per minute. The resting rhythm, slow and heavy. The pulse of something large enough that the heart doesn't need to hurry. Your body cools in the evening air, slowly, degree by degree. The thermal mass holding the day's heat against the night. The cooling is not uncomfortable. It is the body downshifting, throttling back the furnace that drives 9 tons of predator, banking the metabolic fire for the night. By dawn, your core temperature will have dropped 4 degrees. And the first hour of sunlight will bring it back, and the cycle will repeat tomorrow and the day after and the day after that, until the day it doesn't. The last thing, stars, more stars than any human eye will ever see, unsoftened by city light, uncounted, unnamed. The Cretaceous night sky, 67 million years before the first human hand, will point upward and draw a line between 2 points of light and call it a bear. The Milky Way is a river of light that runs from horizon to horizon, dense and luminous, unobscured by any artificial glow on the entire planet. The taste of blood cooling on your muzzle, the warmth of stone, the smell of sulfur, the sound of your own breathing, deep and slow, the weight of 9 tons settling into sleep, darkness. The day folds. It does not replay. There is no highlight reel, no narrative arc, no sense of beginning and middle and end. The hunt becomes a fading sensation. Speed without direction. The taste of iron without the source. The crack of bone through your jaw dissolving into the background hum of the stone beneath you. The moments lose their order. The limper and the rival and the old bull flatten to the same distance. The morning and the afternoon become the same temperature. The charge and the stillness before the charge merge into a single pulse that slows and slows and fades. The territory shrinks. The river loses its shape and becomes a sound. The fern prairie narrows to a band of gold that thins and thins until it is a line, and then it is gone. The forest is already shadow. The boundary ridge is already memory. The world contracts around you. The ridge, the nest, the stone, the warmth beneath your belly, and then just the warmth. Your body loosens. The weight becomes abstract. 40 feet becomes a feeling of length without measure. 9 tons becomes heaviness without number. The tail goes first. You didn't feel it leave, but the counterbalance is gone. The forearms follow, the 2-fingered grip releasing its hold on the world. The teeth shrink. The jaw that could crush bone softens at its edges. The muscles release their grip on your bones. The hunger is gone, and you cannot remember why it mattered. The rival is a scent without direction. The limper is a taste that is already dissolving. The old bull is a shape that has no outline. The pteranodons are motion without wings. The Cretaceous dissolves. The volcanic rumble fades. The deep bass note that played under every day of your life drops below the threshold of perception and is gone. The sulfur thins. The night insects fall silent. The stars blur. You are not the hunter. You are not the weight. You are not the teeth. The skin that held 6 tons of muscle is thinning to something familiar. The muzzle contracts to a face. Your arms are the right length again. Your hands have 5 fingers. Your teeth are small and blunt, and they close gently over nothing. 67 million years fold. The Cretaceous becomes a memory of a body you once wore. Immense, ancient, built for a world where the biggest question was whether you ate today, and the biggest answer was your own jaw. That body is gone. That world is gone. The asteroid that ended both is 67 million years in the past, and it hasn't happened yet, and it doesn't matter. What matters is what always mattered. The hunt, the kill, the full belly, the warm ground, the long, slow breath of something alive that managed to stay alive for one more day. The simplest story ever told, the oldest, the one that every living thing on Earth is still telling, in its own body, in its own way, right now. The stone becomes a mattress. The hardness gives way to give. The volcanic warmth becomes the warmth of fabric and down. What remains is the warmth. The stone warmth that became bed warmth. The full belly satisfaction that doesn't need a species to belong to. The weight of your own body pressing into the mattress. Smaller now, but still here. Still breathing. You are here, in the dark, in the quiet, in the body you were born in, the one that fits, the one that knows sheets and pillows and the particular weight of a human head on a human neck. The warmth is yours now. Bed warmth, house warmth, the warmth of a world that has central heating and weather forecasts and 67 million years of distance from the stone ridge where a predator sleeps. The sulfur is gone. The stars are gone. The weight is gone, but the satisfaction remains. Deep and wordless and older than language. You ate. You held your ground. You survived. The oldest story. The only one that matters. The vault closes its door. The moment returns to stillness. Sleep.